Welcome to the Biz Show, sponsored by Invest Choir. And now, your hosts, Barry and Lisa.
Good morning.
Good morning, Lisa. How are you?
Happy almost end of the week.
It's somewhere in there, isn't it?
I don't know. All the days roll together, but that's a good thing because that means we're busy.
Busy is a good thing, right? So you want to make sure that you have your customer base coming in and talking to you and just asking you to do business with them.
We're building it. We're building it every day. We're always looking to improve, always looking to attract new customers and clients, and we're always looking to treat our employees and staff the way they deserve for all their hard work. It's a lot that encompasses running a business, right?
It does. And, as business owners, you're wearing so many hats several times a day, right?
And switching gears all day.
Every day. Someday, you're the CEO and you're running the company, and next day you're in the bathroom cleaning up a mess that somebody left behind, right?
Hopefully not.
Oh, I know. It's bad.
We all like to have our janitors do that.
But that brings us into this podcast. And by the way, this is podcast number 32. And this one is something that we've all heard about in the news recently, right? About DEI.
Yes.
And that stands for diversification, equality, actually not equality, equity, and inclusion.
Well, equality is part of it, a big part of it. It's been a total sensitive topic for the last 4 years since COVID. We've had all of these political matters come to the forefront.
It's been a big topic even before then. I mean, I remember dealing with this back in the 90s and the early 2000s and stuff like that. But it has significantly gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's why we wanted to talk about it today, right?
We have different pronouns we use today.
Oh, well, yes, we do. You're right.
And more lawsuits.
So, now they want, people to step away from even using pronouns.
Yeah.
So I don't know how
to do that.
Well, I don't know how we would refer to somebody, and they want to get rid of labels.
Hey, you over there.
Hey, you, go do this.
Or go snap.
But,
oh my goodness.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely. But, honestly, it's come a long way and it's evolved. And basically it wanted to include everybody, right? We didn't want to have any discriminations. We didn't want to have, we wanted to include everybody in. And I like that. Like when you're working on the project, you want all your team working on the project, right?
Exactly. You get some different culture and backgrounds. It makes for a really great result sometimes, right? Because you have different perceptions and perspectives.
I love that. I mean, I like working in a team effort so that there's different ideas coming out because, yes, I have my own ideas and stuff like that, but I also respect other ideas, and some of them will look at things differently than I do,
Completely.
And I'm fine with that.
Yes, exactly. So a lot of corporations had such a stringent guideline around having to hire and diversify their employee and their staff.
Well, yeah,
due to policies.
And with this policy, they really wanted to get rid of any hidden biasms or anything like that from lower end managers or stuff like that, right?
Discriminations.
Yes. So, and that's, worked at some level, but,
So talk about your experience. So you've had this come into play with GE Capital.
Yeah, I have. And, I, with HR, always had a battle back and forth with HR, right? So HR came to us and said, hey, we need to do DEI, and you need to have so many people of this and so many people of that. And it's like, well, wait a minute. I need qualified people. I need people who have the skills that need to get things done.
Mm-hmm.
Back then we were doing, and we do this stuff today, networks and programming and development. And so I can't just hire somebody off the street that has none of these skills.
Just
I need skilled workers.
And they check off that box.
Right.
Yeah.
Plus, you need them to walk in the door.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't walking in the door.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So here's my divisions. And in my divisions, it might be skewed one way, it might be skewed another way. To me, it didn't really matter. We got the job done.
Were you forced to hire
Well,
certain people that
they
didn't have the
were.
qualification?
I wasn't forced to hire people with it, but it was strongly suggested that I did.
Oh,
And it was brought up in my performance reviews that I didn't.
really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh,
So,
wow.
So,
Such a challenge.
it is a challenge. And, honestly, today, there's a lot of companies are backing off of it.
Because they really want a qualified applicant, right?
I think at the end of the day, I did say it. There you
Yeah.
go. You're probably right. A lot of them are saying, oh, well, we're downsizing and we, because of the economy is the way it is, we need to scale back in some of our departments and stuff like that. And guess what? One of the first divisions to get scaled back is the HR's DEI.
Right.
But, and I've said this 100 times. When you're building a business, or we go in and we look at businesses, two things are always overlooked: training and security. DEI too is one of them, right? So a lot of that stuff is now starting to get scaled back. Training's getting scaled back. DEI is getting scaled back. Security isn't really getting scaled back because of ransomware and things like that, right? People are kind of scared. They kind of need to step up their security
Right.
and protect their company and their data and their customers.
Yeah. I think that business owners do struggle with the hiring process and being fair and learning how to not discriminate and, crossing that line. It's so common to have an unconscious bias, though, and just to really keep that on the forefront when you are speaking and interviewing talent, to make sure that you're not using that unconscious bias, because I think we do that automatically. It's just in our nature.
I think for some people it is. For me, it's not. It never has been. But let's compare a couple things, right? If you're a hiring manager or you're a business owner and you've got two people that walked in the door for an interview that have the exact same skill sets
Qualification.
and qualifications, it's a pretty easy choice as to, hey, great, these have the qualifications, so on and so forth. But when you have two people walking in the door and one is completely qualified for the job and then the other person is not, however, they fit the model of whatever the inclusion might be,
The culture and
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
what do you do? And by the way, let me just preface this right now. We are not taking sides anyway whatsoever at all, right?
Right. Every corporation has their way of hiring. They
Right.
have-
And we're not here, and we're not here to say what's right or what's wrong. We're just explaining
It's been prevalent.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
explaining DEI, and we're explaining some past experiences that we had, and then kind of the companies that are scaling away from that and what those factors might be.
And it even happens after the hiring phase. I know that a lot of employees are in competition for salary increases and promotions, and then extra, bonuses or job duties are being given or handed out to people maybe of the same culture. Maybe the boss is of a descent, and then they have one of the employees of the same background, and they are getting favored. And it happens every day in the workplace, even after the hiring stage. And so people feel like there's bias taking place amongst, the team internally.
I'll be honest, right? Just as of last year, I did some work and I had hundreds of employees that I dealt with. And, I'm older and I'm of the baby boomer era, but I did a lot of work with 16, 17, 18, 20-year-olds. And I learned, not here, but even before that, how to play in the sandbox with all kinds of age groups. Right? And I saw a lot of people from different age groups don't know how to play in that sandbox nicely.
Right. Exactly.
Right? So I've seen discrimination against women.
Male and female.
Right. I've seen discrimination against a race. And I've even seen discrimination against education. and somebody who might be smart and somebody who's not so smart. And let me tell you a story. I hired this guy. So one of the things, the company that I did some work with in the past, they had a uniform code and a strict guidelines about tattoos and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And I might have mentioned this before, but that said, at some point they had to back off of that and allow tattoos and stuff like that to come into play. And well, I'll be surprised. I'm not surprised, but a lot of people were surprised that as we were hiring a few of these people, there were a few of them that were tatted up like prisoners, right? They're coming just straight
From
out
head
of
to
jail.
toe on their necks and all.
And just a couple of them, smartest people I know,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And others might, maybe not. But, just the stereotypes that come along with that aren't necessarily true. And that's
Yeah.
the thing that we,
Have to keep
as
aware.
a society, have
Yeah.
to keep in mind and try to break that barrier.
It's true.
It is
Can't
true.
judge a book by its cover.
This is true. And some covers are really tatted up good.
It's artwork, Barry. It's
It-
art.
I'm ex-military and I don't have a tattoo on my body.
Well, you're an anomaly.
I am an anomaly because all of all my military buddies, man, they're tatted up left and right.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
necessarily,
My grandfather always had in the forearm back in the day, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then the shoulder.
But I'm not a tattoo guy.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of businessmen that do have tattoos on their arms are very conscious these days because they don't want to have that unconscious bias happen to them, especially when they're in a sales position, right? They're usually covered up. I know I have a real estate friend of mine that is a very successful realtor and has tattoos on his arms, and so he makes sure that he's always in long sleeves because he doesn't want to have that. He just wants to be, here I am to do the job. Don't have a bias.
I was asked that the other day. I was in a face-to-face meeting with somebody, and they asked, "Oh, hey, you're all dressed up and stuff like that. Do you do that all the time? Are you like hiding tattoos or anything like that?"
They asked you.
Yeah.
How funny.
They asked me, and I'm like, "No, actually, this is how I dress for business. This is how
Yeah.
I dress."
Yeah.
And no, I don't have a single tattoo on me. And they were kind of like, "Oh, really?"
Well, there you go, audience. No tats for Barry. 2 tats for Lisa.
Ay.
Anyway, don't be biased now.
I'm not biased. I could care less one way or another. I'm just, for me, my personal self, I don't do it.
Yeah.
But, back to the diversification or the DEI part of this, right? So there is right now, we've heard in the news, right? And so DEI has become a big thing in the news because
of a statement
certain
was
statements
made.
were made about
The
presidential
vice president
candidates that were
fit a profile, right?
yeah, fit a profile, and they were a DEI hire.
Yeah.
And I don't know that to be true. I don't know that not to be true. And I
Who
personally
knows?
don't really
but
care.
it was said. It was publicly said.
It was publicly said.
And
And
so then we all have a judgment about that, right? What does that say about the reasons behind, the motives?
well, this is true. And those are the things that I think play in the background, right? Motivations and
Yes.
stuff like that. Why was that even said to start with? Things
Is
like
this
that.
a good idea? Then you start having doubt.
You do. And, again, we don't care one way or another. We're just reporting the news, right?
Yeah. And I think back, in our ancestry's, time when they were being hired for jobs, there was, white people were supreme, right? White people got the job, right? There's a lot of discrimination that went on. And then over the years that became reversed.
Yeah. If you talk about history, right? And, taking back 300 years, right?
Mhm.
Before the U.S. was even the America,
Right.
there was, I don't want to say all the words that go along
Right.
with it, but there was supremacy and there was
Sure.
people who were not. And, we've evolved since then, but it's taken time, right? I mean, it's taken, even here in the U.S. today, it's taken us a couple hundred years to kind of really move the needle to where we are today.
Right.
And just 60 years ago, buses were still segregated, drinking fountains were still segregated, bathrooms were still segregated. Why? Because of the mindset that people had back in that day,
Yeah.
which now we know was nothing. It was, perceived as something, but
But if you think about sports, like baseball in particular, I mean, they made a movie about it, 42, I think it was. You know, they hire people to be on professional leagues because of their experience level, because they want to win the game at the end of the day. So if that was to be an analogy, that's what they do in sports, right? They hire the best,
right,
the best of the best.
and
And some of them are tatted and some of them are brown and some of them are white. And, it's like skin color doesn't matter. Skin color doesn't matter. And, they're hired because of their experience level and what they bring to the table, because they want to win. They want to have a win at the end of the season, at the end of the day.
and we want that in business too, right?
Mm-hmm.
We want to make sure that we have the right people doing the right jobs, and this
That
is
should be the focus.
that's one of my pet
That
peeves.
really should be. In
I
the election and in business.
I don't think, as far as the politicians go, I don't think we have the right people. Period.
We
in
don't
all
on both
places.
sides. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Where that's a whole nother podcast. But where are the people that care about us? Right? Where are the people that care about us individually? Where are the people who care about our businesses, whether it's a small business or a large business?
Right.
Shouldn't matter, but it
Yeah.
does today. When it comes to politics and stuff like
And
that.
we're always going to wonder that, like, if you don't get the job, like, is it because I'm not the right skin color? I think on
Yeah.
both sides. Now white people are thinking that.
Right.
We feel like we're discriminated because they have to fit the DEI or something, right?
Right. And I've ran up against that in the past of my age, right? So there's, I had my resume out there for a few companies a few years back, and I actually was told I was too old.
Wow.
I was too old. They were looking for somebody younger, and I'm
Oh
like,
my
well, what
gosh.
about all this experience?
Yeah.
And they're like, they
Isn't
couldn't
that-
answer that question, right? I
is
have all
that
this experience. I have
discriminatory?
exactly what you need.
Yeah.
And look, I'm going to be working for another 20 years, so what do you care?
Yeah.
But yeah, they weren't interested.
That is interesting. I'm
Yeah.
surprised they said that out loud.
I am surprised they said it too, and it was
That's
a
a
mental note
big
that was made
mistake.
on mine. If I
Big
were the
mistake
type of person, I probably
Oh,
could
yeah.
have turned around and
Filed
brought
a
a lawsuit against them and stuff like that. But that's not me. I
Yeah,
don't do that,
A
right?
waste of energy, right?
Yeah, I don't have the energy or the time to sit there and go through that. I'd probably still be in litigation today.
Well, we had a podcast a couple weeks ago about, hiring and what to say and not say, right?
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things you definitely do not want to say.
No.
So let's talk about companies
Some
that,
of the corporations.
yeah, some of these companies, large companies, all of them on this list, who have backed off or completely eliminated
the DEI concept.
the DEI concept. And, we'll talk about the reasons why afterwards, right? But we have Microsoft, we have Google, Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram.
Wells Fargo.
Yes, Wells Fargo,
Amazon.
Amazon, Netflix, Disney.
Disney.
Surprisingly enough, Disney, right? And that's, well, they say Disneyland's the happiest place on earth, and I
Yeah.
know why. It's not your happy, it's their happy place, because all the money, they got their hands in your wallet, and they're just digging money out of it like crazy.
I know. It's a big, big, big business.
Yeah.
Goldman Sachs.
Goldman Sachs, Target,
Yeah.
and Salesforce. So they are all backing off of the DEI concept. And some of them are abolishing it completely, and others are backing off. And what they're saying is, well, the economy is right now kind of in flux. We are scaling back our teams. And, with that, we're doing, layoffs and stuff like that. But unfortunately, the companies that, or the departments that got hit was the HR and specifically the DEI
Mm-hmm.
backing off of that.
Yeah.
Whether that's an excuse or a cover up,
It sounds like a
who knows?
cover-up.
It does sound like one,
Leads me
doesn't
to
it?
believe it didn't work too well. And
But then there are some other companies
them.
that said, you know what, it never worked for us.
yeah,
Period.
exactly.
Sorry, we need skilled
Experience.
people to do
Yeah,
jobs.
drive, motivation, experience.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
That goes a
with-
long way.
yeah. And then, there's some of them have said they want to broaden their HR reaches and policies. I'm really not sure what that means.
Is that just a blanket statement with really no meat and guts?
I think they went to ChatGPT, typed it in, said, "How can I reword this?"
Blasé,
yeah, because broaden HR policies and horizons. What's that mean?
Fluff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then others have said, well, their leadership, right? They need to focus on their leadership and making sure the leadership is
I like it.
Doing the right thing.
Sounds positive, right?
It is positive. I think, it's hard to say. Every company has their own motivation.
Yeah, what's behind it.
And we don't know what that is.
Exactly.
Again, all we're doing is bringing this to the forefront so that you as a business owner, or, whether you're a medium or even a large corporation, these are things that need to be looked at, right? When you build a startup, right, it's easy, you got to do sales, you got to do marketing, you got to have a product, and you need to hire. In the last couple episodes in our HR series, which we're still in, we talked about things to say and don't say. We talked about things to look at on resumes and how to compare your candidates, applicants, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now this one is basically about the DEI piece. And is it good for you or is it bad for you? I don't know.
Right. Well, it's always trial and error. And like we opened up the podcast today, it's about adjusting your business every day and finding out what works, what doesn't work, and always seeking to improve.
Yeah.
So we all need to make money. So we got to figure that out along the way.
Hey, what's it?
But there's no wrong, there's no right necessarily across the board. It's what's right for you and your company and your business.
This is true.
And what works.
This is true.
Well, show me the money. So it's so interesting. We'd like to hear people's challenges with this topic. And we invite you to, come to our Facebook, the Biz Show page, and maybe put some of your comments on this podcast that we're doing or any of the HR series that we've been talking about, because there's so many aspects that go into, finding what works for your company and making sure that when you are hiring, you're hiring the right candidate for the job. We do offer those services. If you don't like to do that and don't have the time for it, we do offer the services of human resources to any of your corporations or businesses that you have.
Something to be said for that, right? When you hire somebody, it costs you money to hire that person, right? Because you've got to advertise, then you got to take time away to review their resumes and stuff like that. And then you might do a background check. You might not do a background check. You probably should do a background check because you can learn a lot of things that you got a great candidate, but, they might not, be the best character type person and fit well in your company. So I'll put we'll put a survey up there and tell us what you think, right? So, reach out to us at investquire.com, and don't forget our Facebook group page is The Biz Show.
Our numbers are going up, up, and away.
Thank you guys so much. And
okay, until next time.
Yes, there you go. Bye.